everybody. Welcome back to Current Talk. I'm Faith.
And I'm Cameron, and in today's episode, we will be talking about 21 things we have learned before turning 21. As you all know, Faith and I are both 21-year-olds in college. Actually, Faith just recently turned 21 this past August, and as you all know, I turned 21 this April. And man, I before we even get started, I just want to say I cannot even believe A, we're 21, and
Yeah.
B, that we literally have 2 more months left of 2022, which is really, really crazy. As you all know, we started this podcast when we were both 19-year-olds in college, 18, 19-year-olds. And, the fact that almost 4 years later, we're 21 years old recording this podcast is very, very surreal. And I just can't wait for the day when we say we're 32 or 40 something, still recording this podcast. So, welcome
Yeah.
to the episode. We have a lot of talking points that we're going to be going through today of just things that we've learned over the years, things that we recently learned, things that we may have learned but may not have realized until now. And this is honestly just going to be me and Faith speaking from the heart on a lot of specific things of just our personal experiences and just in general talking about things that we've learned. So we're going to go back and forth here. We have a full list of 21 things that Faith and I have compiled of just important points that we want to mention. So we can go ahead and get started here.
Yeah. So the first one is putting yourself in uncomfortable situations will help you grow. And this is especially important because unless we don't put ourselves in situations that we are normally not comfortable in, we won't learn how to deal with certain things. We won't know that we may find a particular new certain activity very interesting. And so I believe this is really important to just put yourself out there and stuff that you're afraid to do it, because you never know. You may like what you're afraid of doing. And so I would just, advise anyone who wants to do certain things to just do it and be uncomfortable, and you will really thank yourself in the long run for that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I'm definitely a firm believer in that, if you want to make things happen, you have to take the first step in making things happen, whether that's, networking with people, whether that's, getting experiences that will help you grow or help you be prepared for what you want to do in the future. Whether that's simply just in general learning what your passions are, what your strengths and weaknesses are, is very important, especially at 21, because I feel like we're at a pivotal time right now where we're really sinking in and just locking in what we want in life, whether that's a friendship, a relationship, a job, an interest, a passion. Like we're really solidifying what we want our adulthood years to look like, especially as, you know, seniors in college getting ready to go into a new chapter. So I definitely really, really emphasize that. But our next thing that we have learned is it is okay to ask for help. I feel like as college students, everyone says all the time, you're independent, you're doing your own thing, you're getting your degree so that you can get the job that you want in the future. But it's okay to not know everything. It's okay not to have answers to everything. It's okay to make mistakes because I think that's how you grow, and that's how I think you can be understood better and understand people better. I think it's very easy, especially just in general with society, to look like you have everything figured out when in reality you're probably still, struggling with something or you're still figuring things out, and that is okay. Especially as college students, I know we have a lot of listeners on our podcast that are also college students like us. utilize your resources, especially any freshmen, anyone that's, just going to college for the first time. Utilize your resources on campus, whether that's a professor, an advisor, um, a classmate, a friend, a roommate, because you guys are, this is a very short chapter of your whole life. And this is all I keep hearing all the time from professors, like, adults and just people in general, that your college years are years that you don't get back. And whatever you do now will definitely benefit you in the long run. And you'll thank yourself later for utilizing all the resources that you had, during your college years. I know it's very popular at like college events and stuff to get like free stuff, like take advantage of the free stuff, I think that's like one of the biggest reasons why I went to a lot of events freshman year, because I knew they were giving out free T-shirts and water bottles and stuff. So definitely utilize your resources on campus, utilize your connections on campus, because they'll definitely have a impact on just in general, not only how you perform, but your overall experience as a college student.
Yeah. And going on to number three, and this is very important. Learn to love and accept yourself,
Mm.
because no one is going to do it for you, and you got to find a way to accept yourself and accept your faults and your weaknesses and your strengths. And I believe this is very important to do. And I know it's very hard because, especially with what Cam said, we're living in a world where there's a lot of pressure to be perfect and to not make mistakes. And sometimes that could take a toll, and people tend to have negative images. But just know that everyone is struggling with something. Not everyone's perfect. Not everyone, like, nobody knows everything. So just learn to love yourself and accept yourself, and to find aspects about yourself that you like, and that you feel you bring um, to the table.
Yes, I definitely agree. This is something that I'm working on every day. Some days are better than others. I think with social media too, just becoming a very prominent thing in our lives, it's very easy to, take into account, what people's opinions are. Um, Especially if it's something that you're passionate about or something that you believe in or you stand for. It's very easy to kind of stoop to their level in a way and not really want to express yourself in the way that you want to. But at the end of the day, like, you have to be your own best friend. You have to, be able to rely on yourself at times. And just in general, accept your flaws, accept your strengths, accept your weaknesses, because you're always, no matter what, gonna constantly be evolving and changing into a newer version of yourself. But it's always very important at the same time to just recognize those and accept them for what it is, and to not blame yourself for that.
Yes.
So I definitely agree. Going into our next point, which kind of ties into our last point of just in general taking time for yourself. Um, I tell people all the time that, my content creation is kind of my way of taking time for myself, as much as it looks like, I'm just filming a TikTok or I'm just editing a YouTube video. That for me has been self care, honestly. And it's my way to creatively express myself and to not think about school and life and the real world. It's my little escape oasis from reality where I can just be myself and do something for myself. And even this podcast, just coming on here, whether it's every week or every other week or whenever we get to it, just to talk about life, what I'm thinking, it's very healthy for me. And Yeah, just for my mental health, but in general, just like to become a better version of myself and to learn how to vocalize things better. So it's very important, whether it can be anything, whether it's going to exercise, having a hobby on the side that you do. Just find one thing that you're passionate about, that you enjoy doing, and make it an effort to make it consistent in your life, because you'll see the beauty in just taking time for yourself, and just in general being yourself. So
Yeah, it's especially important too for those who have a busy schedule, who have busy and demanding careers. I know being a nursing student is really difficult, and it is especially important to find time for yourself, to treat yourself, to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of other people. You can't do the certain tasks that you're able to do for that day. And so it's very important to first take time for yourself in order to pour into others. The fifth thing that we have learned so far is it is okay to cry. I know that there are very hard days, and me myself, I cry every once in a while, and honestly, sometimes it is good to just release that and to release your emotions, and your frustrations, because I do think it is healthy to express that, and to just not hold everything in. Obviously, if you're crying and you feel very sad all the time, I would go and talk to a therapist. But it's okay if you are crying, and you're in a rough patch right now, needing to express your emotions. It is okay to do that.
yeah, and kind of adding to Faith's point, it's also okay to acknowledge when you need to seek out help, to, if you are in a state where you need that professional counseling, therapy, it's okay to admit to that and follow through with getting the help that you need, because I feel like a lot of people kind of put on this front of like having therapy and counseling makes you look weak, or you're not strong to handle your own emotions, when in reality that's just in general self-care. um, I recently have discovered the beauty of therapy, of just talking to a licensed professional counselor, just talking about life, my worries, you know, my feelings, because while it is okay to talk about that with family, friends, it's also very important to talk to professional too, because they know exactly what you're going through, they know exactly how to take care of you. So it's okay to seek the help that you need. And adding to Faith's point, it's okay to cry. um, Over the past couple of years of college, there's been some nights where I did cry myself to sleep. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. College is a very experimental time where you're feeling a lot of stuff. You can't hold everything in forever, and it's okay to release them in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through crying, whether it's just taking time for yourself. So I definitely can relate to that. But going into our next point is, don't compare yourself to other people. Everyone has their own path. And I think this is very important because, especially as a college student, you see everyone has their own goals, their ambitions, their own dreams. And while it's okay to be excited for people, it's also very important to realize your feelings in that. um, I know, especially with being on a college campus, a lot of people are doing a lot of the same things, whether it's studying the same thing, taking the same classes, being in the same major. It's very, very easy to compare yourself, think you're not doing enough, when in reality you're doing just enough. Um, if you don't get like the grade you want on something, it's okay. You did your best. Like, it's going to be okay. And I definitely have been there in a lot of situations over the years as a college student of, not comparing myself to people too much because everyone has their own um, their own path in life. And it's okay to also, celebrate the wins, appreciate the mediocres, and acknowledge the lows in certain situations for sure.
Yeah, of course. And I know that um, advice kind of seems a little cliche, but I feel like, being honest, I feel like everyone struggles with this, and we all have to kind of admit that, we've all been victim to this. And so it's an important thing to talk about. Um, but for our next point, um, is accept that not everyone is good to feel. Oh gosh, that was worded
Oh,
bad.
you're
Um,
good.
so basically, our next point is to accept that not everyone is going to feel your vibe. Not everyone is going to accept you, and that's okay. I truly believe that there is no one on this planet that everyone likes, that everyone has a positive view on. And I feel like that is a good way to think about things and to kind of let some things go. Especially if you feel like, this certain person doesn't like you. It's not the end of the world. And there's going to be people that like you, and there's going to be people who don't, and that is fine.
Yeah.
So just learning to um, kind of accept that it'll make you more confident in yourself. And going back to like even the third thing that we mentioned, it's going to help you also appreciate and accept yourself and your differences as well.
Yes, I definitely agree. And kind of adding to that point, um, it's okay to, in general, accept that people will be who they are. They may not change for you. They may, not understand you a certain way that others will, and that's okay too. To just continue to be yourself, because I'm a firm believer in that people will make time for who they want to make time for. I know Faith has heard me say that a lot over the past couple of weeks, but I truly stand by that. At the end of the day, we all get the same 24 hours in the day as everyone else, and people make priorities of what they want to make priorities for. So definitely keep that in mind and to just continue to be yourself. But going into our next point is you do not need to drink to have fun. And I know not everyone that listens to our podcast are college students, but this is also, I want to say, keying into the college students a little bit, especially our friends that are just now starting their college years, our freshmen. It's okay to not dive into that scene. Um, and it's okay in general to just, accept that that's for certain people and it's not for you. Um, I know that I personally have never been forced, guilty, or just in general wanting or desiring to be part of that culture. I just choose not to do it, and I know a lot of people are the same way. I don't judge anyone that drinks alcohol. I don't judge anyone that goes to parties or whatever. If that's what they want to do, by all means, have fun. Be safe in the process. But I just know personally for me, that's something I choose not to do, and I stand by it. And when I say I'm not going to do something, you ain't getting it out of me. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm standing for my decision. That is done. So I definitely think that if that's for you, by all means do it. But if not, don't feel guilty for saying no.
Yeah, I completely agree. Like, I am not a drinker at all. And I don't need to drink to be able to have fun. And by
Mm-hmm.
all means, if you do drink alcohol, like make sure you're safe, kind of like what Cam said. But also for those who maybe want to try alcohol or anything. Don't give into that pressure that you need to have a drink to have fun. You need to go to the bar to have fun, because in reality, there are other things that you can do that are also fun as well, if not
Mm.
better. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And to
Um,
kind of, I was about to say before we go into the next point, to kind of add to Faith's point, if you are in a situation where your whole group wants to do that and it's kind of a part of that culture, find groups of friends or find friends that are like you that don't. Because I feel like it's easy for you to be pressured into doing that if you're around everyone that wants to do it and you're the only one that doesn't. But if you're around people or if you have a group of friends that you know are like you, that don't want to do that, that don't, think about that when they wake up in the morning, then you found like your circle. Um, I just know in general, I'm not going to name names to call people out, but Faith and I, we have friends that, at first had a lot of friends that were part of that, culture of, everyone wants to drink and go to bars and have fun. And I think that's one of the ways that brought Faith and I closer together as friends is because we were the few that said, no, we're good. We don't go, we're not going to the bar tonight. We're not, that's not what we do. And, I think that's what kind of strengthened our friendship there. So definitely, I want to say to the freshmen, acknowledge those people. Just keep those people in mind, just so you know it's not a surprise. And then just have a group of friends that you can rely on that are not itching to go to the bars on Friday night, party or whatever, because that's not what you want to do.
Yeah. And it actually leads into our ninth advice. Learn how to say no. And this is kind of going to connect to one of our future advice that we're going to give during this episode. But, your time is precious. Don't
Yeah.
spend it on things that you feel are not important. And also, we get into the topic of priorities. And if something is a priority and there's, things that are distracting, uh, people want to ask you to do certain things that you don't really want to do, learn to say no, learn to have a voice and say no.
Hmm.
And I know that some people, don't want to be the Debbie Downer. They don't want to say no. They want to, please people and say yes and try to have time for everything. But the reality is, um, sometimes there will be days that you're going to have to say no. And if you don't, you're going to be very stressed out and it's
Hmm.
just not going to go that great. So, learn how to say no, learn to have that voice and to
Hmm.
know where your priorities are and where to focus your time in.
Yes, I definitely agree. Going
Mhm.
into our next point we have is learn to laugh at yourself. And this kind of goes into one of the points that we talked about earlier. We're all human. We all make mistakes. We're not perfect in any way, shape, or form. And it's okay to laugh at yourself sometimes. And this kind of also goes into the point that I was talking about of it's okay not to have everything figured out. Um, you know, even adults don't have it all figured out, you guys. It's okay to, live every single day by day, just go through things as they come up. Of course, have some sort of plan if you can, plan as much as you can. But just learn to just take, um just take everything in as much as you can. And if you make a mistake, it's okay to laugh at yourself. I think that's also another way of self-care, in a way, another form of self-care, just because um, it just kind of goes into accepting your flaws as an individual. It's okay to have flaws. It's okay not to be perfect and good at everything. So just learn to accept that, and it'll just be overall better for your mental health.
Yeah. And going into the next one, which is number 11, is to learn how to rid yourself of toxicity in your life. And this can be in the form of people and certain situations.
Mhm.
And just knowing where the red flags are is important. to know if, a situation that you're in is toxic and you need to get out, or if it's that person in your life that you just need to cut ties with.
Mhm.
This is especially necessary in order to grow. And that kind of brings into the first point that we were talking about is doing those uncomfortable things of, cutting ties and leaving situations that maybe you were comfortable in, but you knew that it was tying you down. So that's really important, is to recognize the toxic things in your life and to kind of just snip, snip,
Yeah,
and just, leave it in the back in the trash wherever
yeah.
you leave the past behind.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I was just telling Faith and Lisette, if you're listening to this, hello. I was just telling Lisette, earlier today, and I've kind of been, this has been like a recurring thing that we've been talking about over the past couple of months is, 2022 has been a year of a lot of realizations for me, especially with the topic of toxicity and friendships and relationships. I've realized that a lot of people are not who I thought they were. A lot of people are all of a sudden acting different for whatever reason, and it's okay to not accept that if you don't have to, and to not be around that if you don't have to. I've been on an unfollow spree as well. I do not follow that many people that I used to, and I honestly am thanking myself for, doing that step, that first initial step of whether that's unfollowing someone, whether it's blocking someone, and it's not anything against them. It's just, it's okay to outgrow people, and um, learn if you're being used in a situation, whether you're being drained in a situation, and um, just knowing whether you're 110% in the situation as well. So, very, very key. I know this can be a bit hard for our freshmen or people that are just entering college for the first time because it's very easy to want to be friends with everyone, want to get along with everyone so that, you can build up a group of friends. But I promise you, down the line, you will find your friends that you will be friends with for life. And it takes time, but it's worth it in the end. So it's okay within the first couple of weeks, or I want to even say the first year that you're in college, that you don't find like your best friend, because it takes time to find good, valuable friends. But when you find those friends, you will thank yourself. Um, so yeah, this kind of goes into our next point. I like how all of our points kind of connect to the next thing. We did not do that intentionally, but I'm glad that worked out. Is choose people who choose you. Um, Again, going into our last point, I am a very firm believer in consistency and authenticity in individuals. People make time for who they want to make time for, and going into even consistency too. um, I think really really better now at just spotting, acknowledging, and observing the consistency that I have within friendships with individuals, whether that's them taking the initiative to see how I'm doing, them reaching out to me to hang out. This can be literally anything, and just um, associating with me in general. And I was even telling Faith and Lisette this too, that the word friend is now a very big word for me. I'm very careful of who I label as my friend, because a friend is a very strong word to use. That's someone that you can rely on. That's someone that you can lean on. That's someone that you can talk to. That's someone that you can rant to. That's someone that will be there for you. I could go on and on and on of what a friend is, and I know we all have different definitions of friends, but I'm definitely using the friend word very carefully these days, very wisely, because again, going into our previous points, who you allow in your circle really ultimately depend. It ultimately factors into how you are as a person.
Yeah. Yeah. And going to our next point, which is, we kind of touched on this earlier is your time is valuable. We don't know how long we're gonna be here on this earth, and honestly, it is important to choose your time wisely and choose how you are going to live your life, and not only that, but pour into other people.
Mm.
So, one of the things that we said was learning how to say no, and taking time for yourself, and just enjoying a sense of gratitude, even in the hard situations, even in the hard days, because like I said before, we don't know how much time we have, and it's important that we live life to the fullest, and take every day and be very grateful for another day of life. So,
Yeah, and kind of tying into that point of time being valuable, especially to college students, this is time we're not going to get back. Yes, of course, if you go to grad school or if you seek additional education outside of school, whether you're going to law school, med school, yes, you're still technically a college student, but it's a little different. You're a little bit grown up. You're kind of in a more adult scenario. But your bachelor year, bachelor. When I say bachelor, getting your bachelor's, your undergraduate, should I say, I think that's a more proper way to say, your undergraduate years of college, you don't get back. And once it's gone, it's gone. And adulthood will be right around the corner. And, people say all the time, there's no rush in growing up. So take advantage of every opportunity that you have, whether that's going to hang out with your friends, whether that's talking to your professor about, an assignment, like even the little things of just sitting in a classroom, you guys take advantage of that because it's going to be the same thing every day, depending on the job that you go into, of just being a 9 to 5 working adult, because that is what, our adult years will look like until we retire. So definitely just acknowledge the small things. I don't think we added that as a point, but kind of just tying into that time is valuable. Appreciate the small things in life, because you never know later down the road how much it will matter to you and how much you'll miss it in the future.
mhm.
Um, did I say the last point? I'm sorry. I think.
Oh, we're on question 14.
Oh, okay. Um, Going into our next point, I'm sorry, I was getting way too deep into that. I lost track of where we were at. Sorry, you guys. Our next point is live life carefree. Don't care about what others think. This can be, again, in anything that you're doing. This can be, if you're a content creator like me, this can be creating content. This can be, in general, being yourself. This can be being consistent. And I want to say in any avenues too. It's okay to do what you want to do. People will always have their opinions at the end of the day. People will always talk about you at the end of the day, but it's the matter of if you kept going and if you stay true to yourself and if you just, remember your why and why you're doing what you're doing, because that to me your why of what you're doing overshadows the opinions and overshadows the struggles and overshadows what people think of you, because it's your life to live. So
Yeah.
mm,
And going into number 15, kind of what Cam was talking about, and some stuff that we've been highlighting throughout this episode is it's okay to be yourself and don't change for others. It is not worth it. And I will promise you later down the line, you will probably grow sick of it, and you would regret the time that you tried to be someone else.
mm.
So don't change for others. Be yourself and embrace your differences, as we've been saying during this episode.
Yes, I definitely agree. Always stay true to yourself. Going into our next point that we have is enjoy your youth. I kind of talked about this a little bit when we talked about time is valuable, but um, I even think about, with this episode of us talking about 21 things that we've learned by turning 21 is we're only going to be 21 once. In fact, at the time that we're filming this, we're about to go into November, which can't believe I'm saying that out loud. Next week is the last full week of October, which blows my mind because I feel like we just
Yeah.
started October. And, with that being said, after this month, I want to say, about 5 more months left of being 21, which is crazy. That's crazy now that I'm saying that out loud. So, enjoy your youth, you guys. Your age is just a number, but at the same time, it doesn't last forever. Like, I can't believe I'm going to turn 22 in like 4 months. That kind of blows my mind a little bit. And it's almost really weird too because it's like I don't feel 21. Like I still feel like I could be 18. Um, I I just, I'm taking everything day by day. We're getting old, and it's okay to acknowledge that we're getting old, but it's also important to enjoy the time that you're at and enjoy the age that you're at because you're always going to get older with the years. So,
hmm Yeah, moving on to number 17 is to live in the moment. And we've kind of been talking about this again multiple times, but just live in the moment. Don't think so much about the future. Um, I do know that we have a point about the future, and it is important to think about the future, but if you're just thinking about the future without enjoying the present, then you're not really enjoying life. And, you may miss some incredible things that are happening right in front of you. So it is important to live in the moment, to be present. And yes, obviously learn from the past, plan for the future, but it's also incredibly important to um, live in the present and just take in life and show some gratitude each day.
yeah, I definitely agree. Definitely live in the moment. Especially we're really just spotlighting the college audience today. But you guys as college students, live in the moment. Whether that's you in class, going to class, hanging out with your friends. Again, time we're not going to get back. And I even know I hear all the time too that as adults it's harder to, hang out with friends or to meet up with friends because you guys, especially after you start families and real jobs, it's hard to plan around a life like that. So definitely, in your youth years, when you are single, when you don't have kids, like take the time to be with the people that you care about because it's only going to get harder to work around and meeting up again. And you don't know how long you're going to see people after you see them for the first time in a while. So definitely live in the moment and take advantage of all the moments that you have with people while you do. Um, and going into our next point, we're at number 18, so we're getting there. We're almost there. Is it's okay to let people go. And I will say before I start that I think I will almost rephrase this in saying it's okay to let people go, even if that person that you let go doesn't want you to let them go. This can be a really big form of self care simply because at the end of the day, you're your own person. And regardless of how someone feels about you, whether they want you to still be in their life, if you want to leave, you can leave. You do not have to feel guilty about staying their friend. If you don't want to be there, because that's just going to make you miserable. That's just going to bring your mood down. That's just going to make you not be 100% yourself. And it's okay to let people go, whether it's a mutual decision.
Yeah, that is right. That is honestly so true. Going into our next point, number 19, is to plan for the future. And I
Mm.
know a second ago I said live in the moment, but also plan for the future. Um, Obviously, not everything is going to go to plan, but it is important to set some goals and some plans for the future because you may never know. Like you may reach those goals. You may achieve more than you could ever imagine. And also, when you're planning for the future, like include everything, you know. Think about like how you envision your life, you know, whether you want to get married, start a family, um, maybe have some pets in the future. Plan that, you know, make it happen if you want to achieve financial success, you know, work towards that. Um, and obviously, you know, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it is important to plan and to make sure that, you know, you are achieving something that you are working towards and that you are passionate about doing, you know, certain things in the future that you want to do and to make that happen.
Yes, I definitely agree. Kind of also, I want to say reiterating this point a little bit of um, it's okay to also change courses. I know, I think especially as college students, a lot of people put pressure on you to have everything figured out by your freshman year. They expect you to not change your major. They expect you to just keep pursuing what you wanted to do initially. When, I have so many friends, not just that go to our university, but other people that go to colleges across the country that have changed their majors one, two, three, even four times, and they still don't know what they want to do. And that's okay. It's okay to experiment with things. It's okay to decide you don't like something and change. And it's okay if you know what you want to do and you're doing it, continue. By all means, keep doing what you're doing if that's what you want to do. So embrace the change if needed, but also if you're confident in what you want to do, keep doing what you're doing. So going into our second to last point, this is point number 20, is know what your values are. And I think we touched on this a little bit when we talked about our point of it's okay, you don't need to drink or go to parties to have fun. Um, and this can be something that you don't have to know right now. This can be something that you can still figure out. And I honestly want to say this is something that you can continue to figure out each and every day as, we get new information, as we meet different types of people in life. Um, it's okay to change your values. Um, and it's okay to just accept and be accepting of people too, regardless of their situation.
Yeah, I think having values is incredibly important. And I feel like the day that we forget our values, that is the day that we forget about, you know, ourselves, you know, because values are what makes us who we are and it guides our actions and how we treat people. So it's really important to know what your values are and to know how to live by them. So, yeah.
Hmm.
Another, and actually, this is our last point that we have for things that we have learned by 21 is to keep a great small circle of friends rather than a big group of mediocre friends. And obviously, if you have a large great group of friends, I'm by no means saying that you need to cut down. But if you are a person who has a ton of friends, but there's not a great quality of friendship, I would really question just those people in having those people in your life, just because you know, friendship is a very important thing. And if you don't have high quality friends and have that great friendship, then you're really missing out, you know, and it's better to have, you know, a few great. group of people who, you share amazing things with and, value you and respect you, rather than have people who, don't really value you, don't respect you, don't appreciate your friendship. So, yeah, it's important to kind of what we've been saying before, choose your friends wisely. And quality is more important than quantity, for sure.
Yeah, and to add to that last point, I'm a firm believer in a friendship goes both ways.
Mhm.
One-sided friendships obviously are not, I don't even consider them friendships, just because in order to maintain a strong, long-lasting friendship, relationship of, whatever type, both parties need to be mutually, on the same page. And I want to say, even too, going into the scale of friendships regarding the type of friendship and even how many friendships you have, it's okay to have multiple small groups of friends that are great. So I tell people all the time that I have, a couple good friends here at college at UIS. I have a couple good handful of friends from high school. I have a couple of good friends from just like other organizations that I'm a part of. So it's okay to say that you have good friends, but keep your circle small, just because I just think it's better, and it's just easier to maintain good, solid, strong friendships. That, it's not an overloading amount, because it's easier to keep track and to make those friendships a priority than, um, just in general not have like the best friends for you and by you.
Mhm.
But that is actually our last point. That is point 21 of the 21 things we have learned in um, our years so far of turning 21. So that is actually going to be it for today's episode of Current Talk Podcast. Again, a huge thank you for everyone listening to this podcast. I know we say this every week, but you guys, your support on this podcast is truly one of the motivating factors in why we do this. And we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day just to hear us in general talk about our opinions, our thoughts, and our feelings on just different topics that we have going on in life. We appreciate you. We will link all of our social media links to where we're at in the description of today's episode if you want to connect with us. As always, if you have any podcast topic ideas, or if you just want to add to the conversation, feel free to reach out to either Faith and I at our podcast Instagrams. We do have a podcast Instagram. It's called at Current Talk Podcast, all one word. Or if you want to reach out to us individually, my socials are at Cameron.Hodges, or you can reach out to Faith at Jedi Master with 4 zeros. You can also shoot us an email at currenttalkpodcast@gmail.com for any business inquiries, or if you have any potential ideas for guests that you would like to see on Current Talk, definitely reach out to us through there. And as a friendly reminder, new episodes every Friday. If you're listening to this podcast episode and this Friday, be sure you subscribe so you'll be notified of when our next episode drops next Friday. And yeah, that's it. We're going to end it off here. Thank you so much for listening, and we will talk to you guys next Friday in our next episode of Current Talk Podcast. Bye.
Bye.